Here we go with a brand new edition of CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. First story today is about a warning from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's telling Americans to be on guard against disinformation in the upcoming presidential election. Disinformation is not only false information or fake news, it's false information that's spread intentionally to influence the public or cause instability. And the FBI says people in other countries may be trying to spread disinformation when it comes to the results of the election. That's scheduled to take place on November 3rd. Most of the time, Americans know the winner on election night. There's no law that requires results then, it's tradition. But especially this year, results may not be known on November 3rd because of greater interest in mail-in voting. In the past, most Americans have voted in person at polling places. The Pew Research Center says the share of mailed-in ballots was just over 20% in 2016. But that's been rising steadily since 1996, and it's expected to increase more in this election because of concerns about the possible spread of coronavirus at public polling places. With mail-in voting, state governments may not receive all of their ballots by election night, and it may take a while to count them once they do come in. So what the FBI is concerned about is disinformation being spread while Americans wait for national results. The agency's director has said there's evidence that Russia is trying to interfere in the election. The Trump administration says Chinese interference is a major threat as well. Both of these countries have denied involvement in U.S. elections. But the FBI says to protect themselves, Americans should get their election information through trustworthy sources like official government websites, especially if they hear about delayed voting or results. And the FBI cautions people to watch out for unverified info on social media. As far as election night goes, one state that often gives a good indication of national results is Florida.
Shalom, folks. I'm Harry Enton, a senior political writer and analyst here at CNN, and we're going to talk about the importance of swing states, particularly the biggest daddy of them all, Florida. Because of the Electoral College, a candidate who doesn't win in the swing states is not going to become president, even if they win more votes nationwide. And when it comes to the swing states, perhaps no swing state is more important than Florida. No Republican has won the presidency without winning Florida since Calvin Coolidge in 1924, and only two Democrats, John Kennedy in 1960 and Bill Clinton in 1992, have ever won the presidency without carrying the Sunshine State. Indeed, very few states have voted more like the nation than Florida over the past 5 elections. In 2020, it looks like Florida is going to play a key role once again.
It is called the state of Florida, and it's a great state.
So why does Florida vote a lot like the nation? It's because it looks a lot like it. If you look at the likely electorate come 2020, white voters in Florida will make up a very similar percentage that they do nationwide. And when it comes to Black and Hispanic voters, Florida is the only one of the major swing states in which they'll likely make up at least 10% of the electorate. But perhaps the most important reason to pay so much attention to Florida is that it will count its votes very, very quickly. All votes by mail, with just a few exceptions, have to be in by the time polls close. That's very much unlike a lot of the other important swing states. Given that Florida so closely represents the country, it could be an early indication of how voters feel this election.
Ten-second trivia. What happens when meteorologists run out of storm names in a hurricane season? Do they recycle old names, use the Greek alphabet, use the NATO alphabet, or start next year's list? If all names are used in a single season's list, meteorologists turn to the Greek alphabet. That happened this year after Tropical Storm Wilfred, the last name on the list, formed on September 18th. 2 more storms followed, Alpha and Beta, the second of which flooded Houston and other parts of southeast Texas this week. The need for Greek names doesn't come up often. Since storms started getting names in 1953, meteorologists only ran out one other time, in 2005, when there were a record 27 named storms. This year there have been 23 so far. That includes Tropical Storm Paulette, which is said to be back from the dead like a zombie. It hit Bermuda as a Category 1 hurricane and strengthened to Category 2 status on September 14th. But then it lost strength and speed over the Atlantic and wandered as a low-pressure system until Monday. That's when Paulette regained strength and its tropical storm status a few hundred miles from the Azores Islands. A CNN meteorologist says zombie storms are rare, but they have happened before. Okay, This next story is going to give you something to holler about. We'd tell you to holler if you'd heard this one before, but you probably haven't unless you're from Spivey's Corner, North Carolina. Here's how farmers used to communicate across the countryside.
My name is Tony Peacock,
Robbie Goodman,
My name is Sheila Fry. I am a 10-time
six-time
two-time champ of the National Hollering Contest of Spivey's Corner, North Carolina.
Hollering is a controlled sound that farmers used to communicate with one another before they had modern conveniences like electricity or telephones. Hollers had a certain rhythm and a modulation that would create an echo that would travel over a long distance. But there isn't just one type of holler.
There are actually 4 types of hollers. Number 1, functional. It serves a purpose, such as calling down to a field or calling up from a field when you needed something. Number 2, communicative. You're communicating a message, such as good morning, good evening. Number 3, distress. You need help. Number 4, expressive, just for sheer fun. Many times that could be in the form of tunes or ditties. These types of hollers were what the judges were looking for at the National Hollering Contest.
The first ever National Hollering Contest was in 1969. It was started to raise funds for the local fire department. It became a nationwide hit. Hey, that's me. I won the junior division in 1978. My holler was a distress holler. It sounded like a siren.
And I'm proud to be a winner.
Everybody had their own twist that they put on it. The National Hollering Contest ran for about 48 years, till 2015. We created the Worldwide Hollering Festival that's located in Hope Mills to try to preserve and keep the tradition of hollering alive.
Hollering is an important piece of culture in this region because it helps us remember our past. We can also appreciate the modern conveniences we have today.
Hollering is part of simpler times, and it's just something that we need to treasure because we need to know our history.
I love hollering because it brings the community together and just the fellowship that you have with one another. We want to keep that tradition alive.
Seems old technology has been knocking out new technology in the nation of Wales. For the last 18 months, the broadband internet has been crashing every day at 7 a.m. in a Welsh village. No one could figure out why. A team of engineers then detected a burst of electrical interference coming from a single house when the resident turned on an old TV each morning. Engineers say anything electrical can impact broadband connections. So people should keep their antenna up, stay tuned in, and screen for anything that could cathodiously defuse such a high volume of other information channels. TV puns, they're always worth the UH effort. I'm Carl Azus. Lawton High School is in Lawton, Oklahoma. Let's go Wolverines. If you are watching from a classroom, either real or virtual, and you'd like to get your school announced on CNN 10, go to CNN10.com and click on this here link. That will take you to our official YouTube channel. And if you subscribe and leave a comment on our most recent show, the most recent edition of CNN 10, you could hear your school announced tomorrow on CNN.